We all love working with Elementor. It's easily one of the very best page builder plugins for WordPress. Unfortunately, one of the biggest disadvantages of working with Elementor is that it can be quite slow, especially when compared to other page builder plugins like Oxygen and Cadence and so on. That's why in today's video, I'm going to give you different tips and tricks on how you can supercharge the performance of your Elementor website. There's a few things I need to mention. First of all the tips and tricks will be things that you can do within Elementor itself. So I'm not going to be talking about the usual, use a caching plugin and make sure you're using a good web host, things like that. I'm pretty sure you're well aware of those kinds of techniques. So everything I will show you in here will involve Elementor itself. What can you do within Elementor to supercharge the performance? So things like how to manage your elements, how to improve the layouts of your web pages, and so much more. That's what we will be discussing. Now, one of the tips I will be talking about will involve uploading custom fonts to your Elementor site. This, unfortunately, will be applicable only with the paid version of Elementor. So if you only have the free version of Elementor, you will not be able to do this. However, don't worry, every other tips and tricks you can still apply even with the free version of Elementor. And finally, a few months ago, Elementor released their very own image optimizer plugin. I will not be talking about this plugin for two main reasons. One is the fact that even though it's quite good, in my humble opinion, it's not as good as other image optimizer plugins out there, like the Optimal image optimizer. And then secondly, it's not entirely free. When you sign up to use the plugin, you will be given a certain amount of credits that will be used every time you optimize an image. So eventually, you will run out of credits and then you will have to pay to be able to use the plugin. So I'd rather we talked about a plugin that's completely free of charge. So that's it for the introduction to this tutorial. Before we get started, if you're new here to the channel, welcome to the Web Monkey. I talk about WordPress and web development in general. So if you do find content like this useful, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so to be notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Okay, let's begin. So we're going to start off first by going to Elementor Settings, and then you want to go to the Features section. Now you will notice that under the experiments, there are certain ones that have the performance tag. So this is an indication that this is a particular feature that could increase the performance of our site. So the very first one here is going to be the optimized control loading. You want to go ahead and activate this because this will certainly improve your site performance. Now, element caching, this is one that was recently added. What this does is that it will cache the elements used on your pages. So this is a great way to improve performance. And then finally, under the stable features, you do have the inline font icon. So what this will do is that it will load inline as SVGs without loading the entire library. So this typically would mean less CSS requests and render blocking CSS issues as well. So I'll go ahead and activate it as well, save my changes. And then next, you want to go to your performance. Now for the CSS print method, you want to, in most cases, go with the external file. The external file is recommended because what this will do is that the external CSS file, it can be cached. Also, it won't increase the size of your HTML. So I would highly recommend you go with the external file version. If your site doesn't work properly or you notice certain kinds of issues, then you can switch to internal embedding. But in most cases, external file should be what you want to go for. Optimized image loading, pretty self-explanatory. Optimized Gutenberg loading. Actually, later on, I'm going to show you how we can disable Gutenberg completely. But in case you are using Gutenberg on certain content or pages, yes, you definitely want to enable the optimized Gutenberg loading feature. And then, of course, lazy load background images. This should be a no-brainer. You want to make sure that's enabled as well. And then the element cache expiration. What this will do is that you can specify a time frame or a duration where your data will be stored in the cache. So obviously caching will help to improve your loading speeds, but there are also times when you may want to get like a fresh order or fresh copies of your elements. So this will depend heavily on how often you update your site. If you're not updating your site often, you can actually even increase the element cache expiration to maybe 3 days or maybe even 1 week. But if you're working on your site every single day or regularly, then you may want to go with 1 day or 12 hours. But I'm going to keep it at 1 day. Save my changes. Next, we're going to go over here to advanced, and I would like to encourage you to not use Google fonts. If you do want to use a specific type of Google font, it's much better that you upload them as a custom font. I'm going to show you how to do that next. So in the meantime, right here where you have the Google fonts, you want to go ahead and simply disable this option, and trust me, this can improve the performance of your pages drastically. Unless you're using the Font Awesome library, if you're not, I would highly recommend that you simply disable this as well. Remember that the key to performance is to take away resources and features that you're not actually using. So unless you're specifically using the Font Awesome 4 library, I would highly recommend that you simply disable it. Now, again, if you're using a particular kind of Google font, I'm going to show you right now how you can upload them as a custom font. Let me just save my changes. And there it is. All right, now let me show you how you can upload your Google font as a custom font. Now, the process of using custom fonts is going to be 3 steps. The very first step would be to actually download the font family onto our computer system. I'm going to get mine from Google, so I've gone to fonts.google.com. Right here in the search box, I'm going to search for the Montserrat font family. I really do like this font, so I'm going to choose it, and now I'm going to click on Get Font, and I'll click on Download All. Now, it's going to be in a zipped format. When you extract the files, this is what you should see. You should see a folder called Static. And then inside of the static folder, you'll see all the variations for the font family that you've downloaded. Now, the next step will be to actually convert the files from the TTFF, the TrueType font file, to a WOFF2, which is the Web Open font format. The reason why I want to do this is because the Web Open font format is actually smaller in size, so they will load a lot faster. Now, to do the conversion, you want to go over to the site called cloudconvert.com, and then right here you want to go with the TTF, all right, and then over here you want to say you want to convert that to the WOFF2. You simply select the file. So choose the files that you actually want to use on your site. So I'm going to go over here to my Montserrat, go to static. So as an example, I will choose Montserrat regular, open, and then I'm going to go ahead right now and then simply convert. So do that for all the variations you want to use on your site. And then once you've gotten the WOFF2 formats, upload them to your media library on your site. I've already done that. And if I show you right now, if I go to my media, my library, you will see that I do have the Montserrat regular WOFF2 and also the Montserrat semi-bold already uploaded to my media library. So now what I'm going to do is the final step is now to actually add the font family to my site. So I'm going to go over here to Elementor, and I'm going to go over here to the custom fonts. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Add New, and then we can add the name. So I'm just going to say my Montserrat, just as an example. Okay, you can give it any name. We're going to add our static font. I'm going to come over here to WOFF2 file, upload, media library. I'm going to go with my Montserrat regular. First of all, let's select that one. And okay, now I'm going to go and add another static font yet again. And then repeat the process, but this time for the semi-bold. Select. And then for the weight for the regular, we can go with, let's say, 400. And then the weight for the semi-bold should be about 700. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead right now and hit publish. And voila, just like that, we have the 2 variations, the regular and the semi-bold, for our custom font called My Montserrat. Now, to actually use them, it's going to be very, very, very straightforward. Let me go to my home page as an example. So I'm going to go to edit with Elementor, go to the home page, and it's very straightforward. It's just like how you normally change the font families for your text. So as an example, if I wanted to apply the Montserrat font family to this particular header right here, I'd click on it. I'll go over here to Style, go to Typography, and then for the family, you will see right now that under Custom Fonts, we now have my Montserrat. I choose that, and there it is. Now I'm able to apply my custom font onto my text. So that's exactly how you can make use of custom fonts by using Elementor. The next thing I want to show you is perhaps one of the most important things on this entire video, and that's how to improve the performance of your Elementor website by improving the layout of the content on your pages. There are numerous ways how you can display the exact same kind of content in the exact same manner. However, they're not all going to be the same when it comes to actual performance. Now, take a look at this particular container right here. It looks very, very straightforward. However, using the navigator, notice right now that we have a parent container, okay? And now the parent container has two separate containers, inner containers. The very first inner container right here is holding the image, while the second inner container is holding two other elements, which is the heading, Travel the World with Me, and then the text block, which has the lorem ipsum text. This is okay. However, we can actually improve on this drastically. Check this out, okay? I'm going to recreate this entire container, the content, but using far fewer elements. So look at this. Okay, I'm going to go over here right now, add my flex box, and I'm just going to go with the direction column right there. And now, instead of using the image element, the header element, I'm going to use a single element, and that element is going to be the image box. It's literally the very first element on the general. So I'm going to drop that in here, and now I am going to select my image, which is the one right here. So select that one, and now the heading, let me just change that to Travel the World with Me. Okay, and then the lorem ipsum text in here, I'm just going to copy that real quick, jump back down in here, and then paste the text. Oh, do forgive me. I seem to have copied other things as well. Let me try that again. Copy. Let's go to my box in here. Paste that. Okay, there you go. That's much better. All right, now I'm going to go back over here to the style. And now for the image position, I'm going to change the position to left. Okay. And then the alignment, I'm going to simply go with center to align the text. And I'm going to drop down here to image. And now for the width, I'm going to go all the way to 100%. And that's pretty much it. For the content, if we wanted to, we could add individual styling for like the title and things like that. But this is fine. So check this out. Okay. Oh, one more thing to do will be the vertical alignment. We can maybe go with middle. So the text is aligned perfectly in the middle of the container. But now I want you to compare these two containers. Okay. The first one that we had, it had two separate inner containers, and then it had the image element, and then the heading element, and then the text editor element. But now look at the improvement. We have one container with one single element. This is just one of many ways how you can improve the layout of your pages by simply using less and less elements. See, there is a reason why Elementor specifically provided elements like the image box. And then if you go under general, you'll see many of them. Okay, you have like the basic gallery, the icon box. These kinds of elements are extremely useful for displaying content using one single element that otherwise you might have needed to use maybe 3 or 4 other elements to produce that exact same content. So do yourself a favor, go back to your pages and then look for ways on how you can improve on the performance by simply using specific types of elements. One more example I want to give you regarding improving the layout of your pages will involve the use of grids. Whenever you can, I would highly recommend that you use grids as opposed to the Flexbox container. So typically when you want to add a new container, you'll be presented with two options, Flexbox or grid. And the vast majority of times, you would go with the Flexbox because it's more flexible. It offers you more options for different types of layouts, while the grid is very, very rigid. However, there are certain instances where the grid would be better for performance purposes. Now, take a look at this particular container I have created. Now, I can't use the image box or a singular element to create this kind of content. I have to use two separate pieces of content in here because this right here is a Lottie animation and right here is a text editor. But you see, most people, to create this kind of structure, what they would do is they would add a Flexbox container that would have two columns, and then the left column here would have the Lottie file, while the container on the right will have the text editor. Instead of using a Flexbox in this kind of situation, it is better to use a grid box instead. So all I would do here is I will choose the grid format. All right, and then I'm going to go with the very first option in here. And then all I would need to do is just to add the same content all over again. So I'm going to go with Lottie. Let me go to open my media file. And it's going to be the last one in here. Let me select that one. And then again, all I have to do is just to add my text editor. So let me just copy the text. I'm going to add the text editor in here and then simply paste the text. And there it is. Just like that, I have recreated the exact same structure, the exact same content. However, take a look at this. Initially, we had one main container, two inner containers, and then the Lottie file, and then the text editor. But now, with the improved structure, I have my grid, and then the Lottie element, and the text editor element. So this is another example or another way how you can improve the layouts of your pages. I would also strongly recommend that unless you are using the Gutenberg editor on certain pages or content, it is best to just simply disable it completely on your site. And one of the easiest ways to do so will be to install this plugin by Jeff Starr, simply called Disable Gutenberg. So once you've installed and you've activated the plugin, you don't really need to do anything. You can go to your settings, you will see Disable Gutenberg in there. You go to the page, and these two boxes should be checked. You do have the complete disable of Gutenberg, and then also for the classic widgets, where it'll disable the block widgets and enable the good old classic widget. So this is a very simple change that I highly recommend that you do as well. The last thing I would recommend is to manage the elements provided by Elementor. And to do this, very simply, you go to Elementor, the element manager, and the idea here is to simply disable whatever elements that you may not be using on any one of your pages. So right here, you can just simply click on the scan element usage. And okay, so you can see right now that we do have several elements that are used on my site. Text editor definitely will be the most used. However, you will notice that specifically for my site, there are a lot of elements that I'm not actually using. Image box, Google Maps, image carousel, and so on. The list is quite extensive, as you can see. So all I simply need to do right now is to go over here and then just deactivate all the unused elements. All right. And now we can see that they're all deactivated, as you can see. Now I'm going to go over to save my changes, save. So the idea here right now is that if I was to go to my page and try to edit it, so I go to edit with Elementor, let's go to home page. The elements that I will see will be the only ones that I've actually used before on my site. So you can see right now it's been trimmed down completely. Look at that. On the general, there are only 5 elements because these are the elements. These are all the ones that I've actually used before. So obviously this is a particular feature that you should use only after you've built out your site. And of course, if you ever need to reactivate any one of the elements individually, you can come over here. So say for example, I wanted to use the basic gallery. I'll simply go to basic gallery and then simply just tick the box right there, save my changes, and now I'll be able to use the basic gallery on my editor page. So this is one thing I would highly recommend that you do as well. Alright, so that's it for today's tutorial, where I've shown you the different ways on how you can optimize the performance of your Elementor website. If you enjoyed the tutorial, be sure to hit a thumbs up, hit the like button as well. Leave your comments or questions if you have any. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, once again, if you're new here to the channel, welcome to the Web Monkey. Please do subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.